This week, Pilot Flying J was seen building their first 6-stall pull-through Canopy station. Both Tesla and British Petroleum, or BP Pulse, opened 40-stall Canopy stations, and Red E just can't stop opening stations with another 7 added just this past week. Let's get into it. I'm here at a Tesla supercharger station under construction, mentioned in last week's episode. The very large and popular Concord Mills Mall just off Interstate 85 in North Charlotte, near the famed Charlotte Motor Speedway, home to many motorsport events each year, has both an Electrify America station and is flanked on the west side by a relatively new Tesla supercharger station. This is another Tesla supercharger station going in on the east side, flanked in the parking lot by... flanked to the east in a parking lot of a Cracker Barrel. Sorry, I got that messed up. And judging by the pace, and I see the transformer in over there, it probably should be open by the end of the year if I had to guess, which is good because that other Tesla supercharger station I drive by occasionally, and every time I drive by it seems to be full. So I think those are daily grind people. But as I mentioned, the Charlotte Motor Speedway gets slammed with out-of-town visitors, and so there's ebbs and flows of massive amounts of people in this area, and having an additional stall count added to this vicinity is definitely going to be helpful, both for times when there's a spike of people in from out of town and also the daily grind users who apparently have maxed out that station over there or very close to. A quick clarification on last week's episode where it was mentioned stalls versus ports with Alpitronic HYC 400s. So someone chimed in saying that ports are not the same as stalls, and was saying that although Alpitronic hit 100,000, it's probably far below the actual stall count. And I think what they were implying is Tesla is still ahead in stall count. That's not my experience, and there was some other commenter who chimed in there, but let me just clarify real quick. The HYC 400 is new to the North American market, so people might not be familiar, and people who are Tesla-centric might think that the ChargePoint CP250, which typically has 2 handles serving 1 stall, is common among all CCS chargers, and that's not the case. The Alpitronic HYC 400s has 5-meter-long articulating cables in most common deployments. Sometimes the cables are duplicated, but that is very rare. The only place I've ever seen that is in North America, where they put in a J3400 and CCS1 handle for 1 stall, but that's so few. You're talking like single-digit number of stalls like that. So the 100,000 stalls or ports that Alpitronic had announced, in my opinion, equates to 100,000 stalls, because the articulating cable management that they have on the HYC 400s, in my experience, always relates 1 port serving 1 stall. I don't think I've ever seen. If anyone has a configuration in PlugShare, you're welcome to pipe it into the comments of this video, and I'll be happy to correct myself. But as far as I know, every place I've ever seen an Alpitronic installed is always 1 port serving 1 stall, unlike the ChargePoint CP250 where it's 2 ports serving 1 stall. Anyway, it's just new technology that's getting introduced to North America, so we should probably just be aware that Alpitronic's 100,000 port count does equate to 100,000 stalls, or very near to. It's definitely not a major delta between those two. Mercedes-Benz high-powered charging in North America will be hosting a charge-giving, is what they're coining it as, at their South Windsor, Connecticut station on November 7th. Free charging, and the team will be on site to talk to as well. There also seems to be mention of swag and snacks, but it's a little bit ambiguous. They're asking for RSVPs if you plan to attend. The LinkedIn page for Mercedes-Benz high-powered charging has a RSVP link. So if you're thinking of going and you're close to South Windsor, Connecticut, we should get a swag grab and some snacks and some free electrons on November 7th. You can sign up there. Electrify America recently opened a flagship station in Santa Monica, California, to much fanfare with locals and the broader EV community. It really resonated with multiple EV-centric news outlets. There's a rendering of a similar flagship station in Santa Barbara that had been lingering out there for well over a year. And this week we got notification from PS user Austin Capon about the local news article indicating construction has finally started there as well. As reported by the News Hawk of Santa Barbara County by reporter Joshua Molina, the location of the site is a former Greyhound bus terminal that has been abandoned for 12 years. The station is said to provide 12 stalls with new landscaping and some distinctive design accents. Mr. Molina did a good job of covering the new station build, so I recommend going over to read his article. Another flagship station on the way. CPO PowerUp America announced a partnership with ChemPower, and we had a representative from PowerUp America on this series several months ago, and they were getting ready to open some stations. We see some stations in the Houston area getting ready to open, and now we see a partnership with ChemPower forming as well. They're mentioning NEVI funding in the Southeast, 5 in Tennessee, 2 in Virginia, and 1 in Kentucky. It was also mentioned by ChemPower themselves. So there was a post by PowerUp America, and there's also a ChemPower press release dated October 29th, both mentioning this partnership forming. So we have a lot to look forward with PowerUp America. They also have attendant-less C-stores at some of their locations. I'm not sure if these locations will have those or not, but we'll have to wait and see. But good to see ChemPower making a win and getting a mark in the win column there. Loves was also chiming into social media this past week, bragging about them being the largest NEVI award recipient in the state of Illinois. Illinois apparently released additional award recipients, and Loves in the state of Illinois is on top of the heap. So congratulations to them. We should start to see a lot more builds at Love stations because they were heavily dependent on NEVI funding, and it being frozen put their progress in stasis, but now it seems to be thawing and we start to see more progress occurring. It'll be interesting to see if they stick with ChargePoint or if they start using Electric Era at their upcoming stations. Something to look forward to. Next, C-store operator RaceTrac, who had started with EV station builds on their properties last year but looked to have paused and reassessed, has now been seen installing a distinctive Canopy station. Really nice looking. It almost looks like a cartoon. I mean, it's really nicely designed. It's in Grapevine, Texas. It's not open yet, but maybe indication that their efforts are restarting, so we'll start to keep an eye on those stations. For those who don't know, RaceTrac is headquartered in Atlanta, primarily operates in the Southeast and in Texas. They're currently number 17 on the top C-stores by number of locations. And an interesting note, of the top 17 C-stores, 11 have active EV charging programs. So definitely a growing trend in the C-store industry. As mentioned at the beginning, both Tesla Supercharger and BP Paul's opened 40-stall Canopy stations. Tesla opened in Baker, California, near Insomnica. It apparently is a coffee place, I'm thinking. A really nice, distinctive Canopy location that has trash cans and 40 stalls with V4 dispensers. Really nice looking. They seem to do all the trimmings for this station. It looks really nicely designed. And as noted by one of my viewers, Eric Way, who's a frequent flyer here on this channel as well, this is an unusual place to add additional capacity because the small hamlet of Baker, California, according to Eric, has the highest per capita concentration of DC fast chargers. Well, he says possibly in the world, is close. He says is close to one DC fast charger stall for every 2 or 3 residents at this point. And the reason being is, for people who are not aware, Baker, California is is at the midpoint between Los Angeles, California, and Las Vegas, Nevada. So people making that route is a perfect place to put a charging stop. So it's very quickly becoming a place of note to stop and charge, and not necessarily for locals. BP Pulse later in the week announced that BP Pulse also added a 40 stall Canopy station, not to be outdone by their rivals Tesla. I guess they're rivals, I don't know. I guess they're friends or enemies, who knows. This is at the Houston airport, and Houston actually has 2 airports. The larger George Bush Airport to the north of the city, and then there's a smaller airport to the south of the city. This is at the airport to the south of the city. 40 stalls under a very distinctively designed canopy with distinctively designed signage out front, and right next to a Hertz, which is a previously announced partner of theirs. So congratulations to BP Pulse, and they've decided to celebrate. Last week they had a 1 cent per kilowatt hour festivity at the LAX GigaHub, and this week they announced that they're also going to do a 1 cent per kilowatt hour pricing at the Houston GigaHub. The one day this will be offered is Wednesday, November 12th. So if you're in the area, be sure to show up low and get a nearly free charge. Sticking with Tesla, as noted, Tesla added 14 stations this past week. And viewer John Baker Charge on my channel posted that the Tesla Supercharger team now is operating more than 10,000 stalls in the state of California, which is a really Herculean feat, which was years in the making. John says the Tesla Supercharger team operates over 60% of the charge ports in the state, really locking their dominance up in the state of California, their largest market.
This is Walter from the future. Walter from the past wasn't aware that John Baker was able to be available for a quick conversation concerning the expansion of the Tesla Supercharger network in California and elsewhere. Let's go ahead and go to that video now.
So I'm here with John Baker, who has recently posted into a video that I put into my personal channel covering the alternative fuels data center in North America, the entries that get added on a weekly basis of some details of note concerning the Tesla Supercharger team, specifically in the state of California. So, John, welcome to the channel.
Hi, Walter. Pleased to be here.
And funny enough, one of the stations that we're going to be discussing is in Baker, California. So I felt it was appropriate to bring in Mr. Baker to discuss the Baker station. But, sir, I understand that you're affiliated with an organization that is primarily volunteer-based called supercharge.info. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, we're a volunteer group of people, of fans of the infrastructure, and we monitor and track superchargers that open up around the world, and it's been going for about 12 years now, and I've been involved for the last few years, and we're just adding new superchargers, showing when they're in construction and opening up, and we normally are ahead of when Tesla announce it, and also on the alternatives fuels database as well, that I know you're very familiar with. They're a little bit behind as well.
Laggy, yeah.
Actually open it, and sometimes there's things that are wrong in there as well, where they don't track the expansions and things as well as we do. But generally, I think we were pretty a decent authority on it. And I know Kyle Connor is a big fan.
Yes. I've heard you all referenced multiple times, and as you say, the alternative fuels data center database definitely has to be taken with a grain of salt. It's more or less a general guide, but it's definitely not scientific. And specifically of note, you mentioned been around for 12 years with the tracking of supercharger stations. And I think that's one of the things that is remarkable, because what you mentioned is that the Tesla Supercharger team is able to claim 60% plus of the stalls in the state of California, which I believe is their largest market in the United States, for which state has the most Teslas.
But that doesn't happen just overnight. They've been relentless and persistent with their vigilance for slowly making their needle move in the state. And as such, they've basically amassed an insurmountable lead. And so you see what I see. Basically, every week, Tesla Supercharger is not only on top of the heap, it basically takes everyone else combined to make a second place to their just staggering lead. I'm assuming you're seeing similar types of numbers getting poured in every week.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty. I mean, that open all the time, and like new ones and expanding ones that, especially in America, where I think they've got about half the market of all the DC fast chargers there, something like that.
Yeah,
and a bit over that maybe. I mean, other ones are catching up slowly. We like to see other people like Iona and BP and all the other ones slowly get there, but they're a long way behind. When I look at places like Europe, where there's lots more competition, and Tesla are maybe number one or number two or number three in the market for each country, but it's not far behind. It's not, you know what I mean? There's not massive difference like in America, where the next 12 combined have got the same, you know what I mean? Or all of them combined have got the same.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah, right now Iona only has promises for the future. They don't have anything of substance. And same thing for Walmart, is promises and press releases, but we're still waiting for the actual numbers to start hitting the streets. And BP has been making some progress, but it's still not at the level of the Tesla Supercharger team. And let's call out one of the stations, as I mentioned, that was open this past week, the Baker, California. Are you familiar with that site?
Yeah, well, we saw it opening up, and we were tracking the progress of it, and then that's one of the ones that really was hit a big milestone in California, because it was the 10,000th stall it passed for California for Tesla, which is a lot of stalls, and yeah, there's they're opened up at a ridiculously fast pace there, and there's a little,
yeah, and you were pointing me to this animation, which is on X, the supercharged.info X account, and we have to be careful because there's a supercharger, which is kind of shadowing you all, but supercharged.info X account will have this animation if anyone wants to go see, concerning growth of supercharger stations in the state of California. And the one that was put in this past week has a Canopy, which at some points were considered to be unicorns for the Tesla Supercharger team. I'm starting to see them more and more frequently, even over here on the East Coast. We've got a couple of stations now that have canopies that are open, and a couple more that are spotted in the build phase, getting ready to open. And they seem to be favoring that in certain circumstances, especially ones that are going to be crowd pleasers, or on Instagram, known to be on Instagram, for like Baker, California, being in between Los Angeles and Las Vegas, for sure is a frequented stopped location. So I'm guessing you guys are seeing similar types of embracing of canopies and additional improvement in site selection.
Yeah, I mean, they're known for having lots of stalls. I'm just trying to work out how many they've actually got of the how many stalls they've got with canopies at the moment in the US.
Yeah, that's kind of a tricky one to track for Tesla. I'm not sure if that's something that you have as a flag in.
Yeah, well, we think there's sort of, I think I've not looked at it before, 60 sites that have got solar canopies now. So in the US, I'm just a quick look. I wasn't prepared for that at all. I'm just trying.
No. I didn't mean to.
No. That's fine. That's fine. I'm just having a look now to see what it was. Yeah, 60 sites under construction, and I think there's 29 sites open. They've got at the moment.
Okay.
That has got solar canopies, but I mean, and there's others that might be covered as well. But yeah, there's. But yeah, there's more and more being opened all the time, and there is plenty of. They've got a variety of sites. I mean, most of them are quite standalone. They're not like the Ionas with the all of them seem to, or most of them seem to have the solar canopies. They're more about the rate of getting them in the ground and getting
certainly. And and the cost per stall, they've definitely focused on and got dialed in better than anyone else, I would venture to say. But definitely the state of California passing 10,000, I think, is worthy of mention, just because, some countries are nowhere near that in a total number for DC fast chargers. And the state of California now has 10,000 just supercharger stalls, which kind of deflates the argument of charger anxiety, especially if you're driving around in a Tesla.
Yeah, there's plenty of, I think there's becoming plenty of options now, and on the stall count. They still get busy at times. We still hear them getting busy, but I think they do address that quite dynamically, Tesla. They've got so much data on where is busy and people who wants to queue there, and all that information that they know so much more than some of the other CPOs, that they can open up quicker, I think, and more effectively. Others have information, but I think they guess more. These people, we know exactly at these times he's going to go to these stations, and most of them are Tesla cars going there, so they know what these people's routes are, and they can see, they did that last year. You know what I mean? So they know. You know what I mean? They can build a better picture up of when to open up the stations in the key routes. And like the Baker one is another one that they said, look, hey, there's already a 96 store one in Baker. Mm-hmm. They've gone, oh, we need another one, another 40 stores in one place. And on that route, there's like hundreds of stores on that route from Vegas to sort of LA.
Well, nothing's nicer than having options. And sometimes being on the party line, it gets lost in the noise, just really who the dominant player in the market is. And for sure, the Tesla Supercharger team has set a very high gold standard for everyone else to ascribe to and or aspire to. And thank you very much for chiming in to this week's episode and agreeing to join the conversation here, just to kind of bring to light that although everyone else is trying to make an impact, I've heard it said that it's Tesla's world and everyone else is paying rent.
Yeah. I'm sure the gap will close in the coming years, but at the moment, I think Tesla are far ahead in the choice in the US.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Baker, much appreciated for coming on to Out of Spec Bits, and I'm sure we'll be in touch again soon, because as someone who tracks more closely the largest and fastest growing DC fast charger network in the world, I'm sure you'll be a great resource in order to refer to on occasion again in the future. Much appreciated for coming on, sir.
Thank you, Walter. We're glad to be back.
I was alerted by viewer She the Jones 4494 about HYC 400s going into a rest area in Delaware. I looked it up on PlugShare, and sure enough, at the Joe Biden Welcome Center run by Apple Green is a fenced-off area with HYC 400s getting ready to be installed. It looks like a great charging station getting ready to be added to the midpoint of the Interstate 95 corridor. Very nice looking station. As mentioned at the beginning, CPO Red E had another great week, which is becoming commonplace for them. They opened 7 stations. One station that has 8 stalls at an Aldi in New York is also seen using Lincoln Electric, which is what we saw at another Aldi last week. So it's kind of looking like Aldi is assessing adding Red E stations to all of their stores. We're not sure the extent of the rollout. There's been no press releases, but that's starting to look like what is happening in the back end. Additional stations opened at Cary, North Carolina, 2 in Massachusetts, 2 in Michigan, and another in New York at a GMC dealership in Dunkirk. Pilot Flying J opened 3 stations this week. One is a Canopy pull-through location in South Bellet, Illinois, just south of Madison, Wisconsin. The other 2 are in the Minneapolis area and in a town called Wamsutter on Interstate 80 in Wyoming. Pilot now has 7 stations open along interstates in Wyoming, making them second in the state, only to the Tesla Supercharger, who has 11. Additionally, and most exciting to me, is a station of theirs was spotted with a deviation from their previous designs. They had been following 4 stalls as their formula, but have been adding new stations with 6 and even 8 stalls. Oftentimes with nice big canopies too. This past week, a new one was spotted in Pontoon Beach, Illinois, to the east of St. Louis, with 6 stalls in a pull-through canopy design. I was pretty excited when I saw that. So they were doing cookie cutter designs. They basically had like 5 different designs that they were choosing from depending on the layout of the property they were building into, but now they're getting much more creative with their design builds. And 6 stall pull-through canopy in Pontoon Beach, Illinois is now getting ready to open up. On a personal note, I can say the instinct to go elsewhere when doing road trips, since their average price is above the industry median, is something I share. But on several occasions recently when I was doing road trips, they won my business simply by being right off the interstate. And when I say right off the interstate, you get off the interstate and it's like feet away from the exit. It's just right there. I love not having to go a mile or 2 off the exit to find a station, but instead have it adjacent to the exit at a place that I know is open 24/7, 365, and is clean and safe. For me, this is a marriage of convenience. I'm glad to patronize when zipping down the interstate. Lastly, a viewer named David attended the BP Pulse 1 cent per kilowatt hour LAX event. He went home with a raffle winning of a $300 scooter as well. He was telling me how excited he was in an email. He sent me these photos. Let's take a look. Thanks for watching.